This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace.
Hi, folks, and welcome to yet another lovely, beautiful Saturday Morning Mysteries. We are also your lovely and beautiful hosts, if I do say so myself, Grace. That's me.
I agree. And I am Alexis.
And we're super excited that y'all are here today for our, for now, last Scooby-Doo episode.
Yeah.
Before we move on, you've heard the last two episodes that we're going to be switching cartoons next week.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
To be announced what that will be. Actually, to be announced next week. We're going to tell you when we do it. So
get ready partially, you've heard us say it before that we record in a lot of chunks of as you can probably see by why are their outfits the same in these three videos and then suddenly different? What is happening? Why is the sun suddenly changing in Alexis's video if you're watching on the podcast? What's happening right now?
What's going on?
Yeah. We're recording a lot of chunks, and that's partially why we can't yet announce in this video what our next cartoon will be, because we have not decided yet. But by the time this is published, we will have decided.
Yes.
So,
and we will just sit on that information until we publish the episode where we switch it up. So
yes, exactly.
Yes.
And a quick also just general thanks to everyone for telling friends about us.
Yeah.
Keep it up. We love to see it. We were talking about it earlier. We can count on two hands. One hand each, so two hands collectively, a hand who we know is actually tuning in. And so for the other folks who we have no idea who you are, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Yeah, we hope you enjoy what we're putting out there, and that you come back and you tell even more of your friends. Mm-hmm. As Grace just noted, we are we film in groups and we film ahead of publishing. So this is actually the first time that we're filming since we officially launched the podcast. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is probably a good chance for us to just say thank you all for sticking with us, for enjoying hopefully this so far. And hopefully, I guess this is probably 8 or 9 weeks later by the time that you're actually going to see this, but hopefully you're still around, and hopefully even more folks have joined you and you've told more friends, and 9 more weeks when we're filming a new episode for later, we will be thanking you again for bringing even more friends into the fold. So thanks for joining us, y'all.
We appreciate y'all, and we hope that whatever we decide to tune into next week, you're also into that cartoon or getting introduced to a new one. Who knows? And
again, send us if there's any show that you like in particular, then send us your suggestions at our Gmail account, SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com. Perfect. And maybe you'll see a nice little episode arc of us going through one of your personal favorite shows. We'll see.
Absolutely. But until then, we have a final, not final. We have so much more Scooby-Doo to cover. We're just going to switch it up for a little bit. So for now, though, our final, our not permanent final, Scooby-Doo tale.
Temporarily final.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, our temporarily final. We're taking a pause after this from Mystery Inc.
Yep, they will be back. But Alexis is going to tell us our
until then
tale today.
Yes. And I think, now that we've set that stage, I got to say, maybe this is a very good episode to kind of, take a pause afterwards. Okay. It's exciting. So today I'm going to be recapping. I'm still on the Scooby-Doo show, of course. When we come back to Scooby-Doo in the future, I'll switch it up and go to a different Scooby-Doo incarnation. But for now, still obsessing over the Scooby-Doo show.
No rules. Stick with it forever until we run out of episodes from it. True. Whatever.
Yeah. There's lots of episodes to choose from. So who knows? Yeah, maybe I will just stick with this. But anyway, so today I am going to talk about season 1, episode 10 of the Scooby-Doo show. And that episode is called A Frightened Hound Meets Demons Underground.
Oh, a rhyme. Spooky stuff.
Spooky with the rhymes. Rhymes are always scary.
Poetry terrifies me.
Yeah. Hiding under the covers at poetry slams. Anyway, so let me say though, so we already were loving this title, and not only because it rhymes, but this, just from that episode title alone, I was so excited to watch this episode, because for one, I was like, I don't recognize this one. So I'm thinking it might be one I've never seen before. Always exciting, because that means I have no idea who the culprit is or anything like that. And two, because the title made me immediately think of one of my all-time favorite freaking horror movies ever. If people like horror or scary movies, The Descent, which came out in 2005. And if you're into horror, or if you just want to watch a new movie and you have the skin thick enough to do it, it's on Peacock. I actually just recently rewatched it because this episode made me think of it so much. So real quick, brief recap of that movie, just like in
What's
2 sentences. Again? The Descent. So like descending into something, The Descent. Again, 2005 it came out, so a little bit older, but so good. Ages very well, as my recent rewatch proves.
Confirms.
But very briefly, this movie, and Grace, I think you'll like this, even if you don't like horror, you'll like kind of like movies. The background. It's about a group of these thrill-seeking, adventurous British women who are like all like besties. They go like whitewater rafting together all the time, climbing, hiking, all this cool stuff. And so they decide to go on like a spelunking trip, or like a cave diving exploration somewhere in the United States. I'm not exactly sure where, doesn't really matter. But amid their adventure into this unnamed and unmapped cave, they run into some pretty frightening and terrifying things. I'm going to leave it at that, and I will let you all watch the movie if you dare. Like even me as a fan, like a very big fan of horror and like scary movies, like even watching this a few days back, like I still jumped at some parts, because like I think that this was one of the first movies that ever really freaking scared me when I saw it. And I think I saw it like right after it came out. So I was pretty young. So yes. Thinking of that, the title of this episode, Demons Underground, I got excited, made me think of this movie. Unfortunately, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I will not watch that film literally ever. One, I hate horror movies passionately. Even like true crime stuff, I can only listen to it. I cannot watch. And then two, that film sounds like a personal attack of my free time. Of like, yes, I do go on trips with friends for these things.
Yes. So you're fine. Just don't go in unmapped, unnamed caves.
Yeah, that should be like a general rule. Like,
it should. And for folks who are brave enough to watch the movie, you'll see why, like the way I describe it, yes, that seems so unreasonable. Why would you ever do it? But it's very well written into the film on why this group of women did it. So, great
I go
movie.
off trail and like,
everyone like, it's just the adrenaline. It's the rush. Yeah,
exactly. We'll explore some unclimbed stuff. Like I get it, but so I'm not gonna watch it though, because I hate
totally different from classic animation or straight up early 2000s horror film. Very gory, very graphic, but very just like Scooby-Doo. Very good. Yeah, exactly. So naturally, we're going to talk about it while we talk about Scooby-Doo and some underground demon story. This episode of Scooby-Doo has the potential to probably, like in a real world scenario, it would be like something as scary as what's going on, I imagine, in The Descent, which another reason why it makes me think of that. But obviously it's made for children and families, so it does not go quite that far.
Yes.
So in this episode today, we actually join the gang on a quick weekend getaway.
Ooh.
They're traveling again. This time they're in Seattle, Washington, actually.
Okay, hey, my neck of the woods.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, hey, I got
part of the country
visit anyway. One day I'm going to visit Grace out there, and then maybe we'll take a quick trip up to Seattle while I'm there. We'll
find
see.
Some demons. It sounds like.
Exactly. And perhaps we may, as this episode tells us exactly where they're hiding in the city of Seattle.
Cool.
So while the teens are on this weekend getaway, they, as per usual, are reading newspapers, and they come across reports of demon hauntings on a nearby construction site.
Site?
And taking us back into the wild and dangerous world of construction. Yikes. I cannot avoid it.
Yep.
And so the gang, just as I cannot avoid these construction-related episodes, they cannot avoid sticking their nose into other people's business. And they decide to insert themselves in a new city, all this. Yeah, just jumping right into other people's problems.
Yeah.
They decide to insert themselves literally into this local folklore of some underground demons, and they launch a full-scale investigation to bring an end to these mysterious hauntings.
Okay.
But before we dive into their investigation, I have to discuss a little bit of the Seattle history that the writers tied into this episode and into this mystery. So yes, another example of the writers bringing in like actual real world background information into the plot always makes the episodes a little bit more exciting, if you ask me.
For sure.
So we are in Seattle. And I'm going to take it way back here, which initially was settled or, settled exactly in 1851.
Oh.
And it quickly became a booming lumber and shipping town. There was a lot of wood, a lot of trees, a lot of availability of lumber, and they were close to the water. So naturally, a lot of people moved in, a lot of people had jobs. They had a lot of materials that could keep the economy floating. Many buildings and homes and shops and whatnot in the area were thus built with lumber because it was everywhere.
Okay.
But because they were so close to the water, a lot of buildings were also originally built on like elevated wooden platforms or on stilts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently, way back when, in the mid 1800s, late 1800s. And this would, protect them from flooding and high tides and sewage and drainage problems that were results of those things. But it was not cool for so long. Unfortunately, one afternoon in June of 1889, so almost 40 years after the area was settled, there was an unusually dry summer. And actually fires were popping up in big cities all throughout the state of Washington. And one just so happened to hit Seattle.
In the city of wood.
In a city of wood. And the fire started, unfortunately, in a carpentry shop.
Oh, no.
Lots of timber in there.
The headquarters of the wood.
Exactly. The wooden headquarters. Yes. And so before the all-volunteer fire department could get to the scene to put out this fire, yes, an all-volunteer at that time, so not quite equipped to fight this kind of fire. By the time they got there...
tangent this piece of history. In some places, in like the olden days, in the, like, I think, 1800s, there would be like, it was like all volunteer firefighters, and it was like a straight up first come, first serve. And then some fires like wouldn't get put out because two groups would show up at the same time and they would want to be the ones to put it out, and they would like straight up fight each other. And the person whose like house is burning down would be like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. Like, hello.
Anyways.
Yeah. Well, in this case, they were all dedicated. Every firefighter was there trying to put this thing out because unfortunately, by the time that they got to the carpentry shop, that fire had already reached a liquor store across the street. Fuel into saloons, which we know are bars, essentially, like in old Western days. So this thing, obviously, a lot of flammability. Unfortunately, this fire, it just got even more out of control because, again, remember, a lot of these buildings are made of wood, are on wooden platforms, or are on wooden stilts. So in total, this actually, I believe to this day, it is still the most destructive fire that ever hit the city of Seattle.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it destroyed 25 blocks of the city, cost over $500 million of destruction. When you adjust for inflation. When you adjust for inflation. Oh my God, no, because now that would be like trillions of dollars.
Yeah, that's why I had to ask.
Yeah,
but
no.
So that's a lot.
It was like a couple or like 10 billion or 10 million back then, which is now like 20 or $500 million. Sorry,
that's wild.
Like a little over 500 million today. Wait, $500 million today. It's $500 million adjusted for inflation today is the damage. A lot of damage. 25 city blocks, the entire business district, 4 of their wharves, their railroad terminal. The whole city was just absolutely destroyed. But rather than packing up their bags and resettling elsewhere after the fire, the city decided that they're just going to rebuild and start fresh.
Okay.
Which, interestingly, from my research on this history, this is kind of like the rebuild would actually kind of set the framework for Seattle becoming just like a historically progressive city.
Really?
I'm not going to like go into all of the details, maybe bonus content one day, because it is super interesting.
Sweet.
If you have time to read about it, give it a quick look, because turns out that when you have to like rebuild something entirely from scratch, like you're thinking ahead of other problems to fix, and Seattle just from there, like
they were like,
becoming,
here's our huge list of problems that we were trying to figure out how to fix.
Now's our chance to do it. Exactly. Cool. Right.
Great. Let's burn it all down.
Burn it all down and start over. But they kind of, they started over in a way, but what they decided to do was actually regrade certain areas of the city.
Okay.
So they literally raised the ground level, like anywhere from like 10 to 30 feet, depending on like, you know, the elevation of that city. Because as I said before, it was close to the water and they already had flooding issues. So they're like, oh, well, if we rise above sea level, then that'll help with that a little bit.
Cool.
And in addition, it helps because we have all this fire damage everywhere. Like we need to build over it. So they essentially just brought a bunch of dirt in and they walled off the areas between the old, like soon to be underground buildings. And when they did that, it created like this underground channel of passageways and like old basements. Yeah, that is now today known as the underground city of Seattle. So Seattle actually has this whole underground infrastructure underneath it. You can take tours down there.
What?
Yeah. Never knew this. Yeah. Found out from Scooby-Doo.
Shit.
Yeah. And I watched a couple videos of the tours too when I was writing this, because I was like, I need to see if this looks like how they're portraying it in the show.
I'll put it's really interesting. Some pictures on Instagram of this city, well, I'm going to look into it now.
It's very, very cool. Like it looks like, so you can see like the front of some buildings. Because, the way they had to do it, and I'm going to get through this quickly. I know I'm like dragging on about Seattle history, but it is important to this episode.
Okay.
So they had to phase in the regrading of the city, because you can't just bring all this dirt in at once and like boom overnight, or like at the same time the whole city is risen like 10 to 30. Exactly. So there would be times where like you have a big city block and one half of the block would be like 20 feet above the other block, but all the shops, the shops, exactly. That's what they did. Because the shops on both sides would have to be operating, because like you don't want to have to shut down your business for years when you're trying to rebuild. So they literally would put long ass ladders going down these big ass drops so that people could get up and down into the shops. And a lot of people either missed the ladders.
Oh no.
Or just didn't see the drop-offs, and like 17 people died during the process of them regrading.
Just from that.
And the coroner labeled it as involuntary suicide. Like how terrible is that? That's not a thing. It's not. It is when you don't want the city to be held liable, I guess, for their blatant mistakes.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So naturally, with this number of people that died, unfortunately, in this regradation process, there are rumors and a lot of folklore in Seattle now about that underground area being haunted.
Cool.
And yeah, that is a little bit of Seattle history that brings us to today's episode of Scooby-Doo, and it tells us where our mystery begins. So on that land above the underground city, we now, or well, at least in Scooby-Doo universe, there was a construction site for a forthcoming shopping center, which of course is all of the craze in the 70s. Exactly. Yep. And we see a worker telling Joe, the crane operator, where to place like a large steel beam that is, you know, being carried around this construction site by a crane. And as this worker is directing the beam, a big puff of red smoke appears behind him. And this guy, he's standing on on a beam in like the skeleton of this building that's being constructed. So again, not safe.
Not stable.
And a puff of red smoke appears behind him. And as the smoke kind of fades away, we see this large winged demon standing and like screeching behind the worker.
Okay.
If I can describe this demon,
yes,
he has the face of a man, the head of a bull, body of a gorilla, and like maybe like wings and talons of like a bat, or like maybe an eagle, or I don't know.
Large bird.
He's just huge and loud and like frightening.
Yes.
And very weird.
No.
And so the guy, he turns around and he sees the demon behind him, and he literally just screams like, "It's the demon!" And his plan to escape from the clutches or from the horror of this demon is to jump on that bar that is being swung through the air by the crane. And it's not just the guy's idea. It's actually Joe, the crane operator, who tells him, catch this beam, man. Yeah. Oh my God. So he catches it, and actually it works. I do not recommend doing this if you're ever being chased by a demon, but in this case, it does work.
Good. Okay.
The demon, though, before the beam is able to be swung away and the guy's, put in a safe position, the demon like swipes at the beam. And he leaves a burning claw print behind. So everyone's like, oh my God, like we've got evidence that this thing is real. Yeah. And apparently this was a big event. It was a very newsworthy event because we then see our dear friends of Mystery Inc. reading about it in a newspaper.
They're so
as
informed.
They always are. They really are so informed. And they're reading about this in a newspaper while they are enjoying lunch atop the Seattle Space Needle.
Aw, cute.
Scooby is eating lobster, by the way. So this is, if your dog is eating lobster, though, like, again, the Blake family is clearly funding this weekend getaway.
Yep.
I imagine that if there's a restaurant at the top of the Seattle Space Needle, it's probably not cheap. Yeah,
yep, exactly.
And so Vilma is reading this paper, and she notes that the legend of the demon who, has been haunting this construction site, which by the way, this is like the 5th time. So this has not happened once, nor twice, nor thrice. This is the 5th time that this demon has popped up at this construction site. And Vilma notes that the legend of the demons comes from the legend is that the demons come from underground beneath the city that was buried after that fire in 1889. And so the gang decides, all right, let's go to this construction site and investigate, gang. Let's stick our nose in other people's business and affairs.
Construction sites before. We got this. No
and also, like, I guess from that newspaper article, it doesn't really say that any crimes particularly are happening.
Yeah.
I guess if people are getting hurt by the demon, but otherwise they're just like, oh, something scary is happening somewhere. Yeah. Let's go investigate. So it's not even like,
we'll see if there's a crime that comes through.
A solicitation for like, finding a criminal. Exactly. Yeah. But anyway, so they go to the construction site. And they meet with the owner of the construction company, who happens to also be the first person to reportedly see the demons. And his name is Mr. Sam Crenshaw. And as soon as they show us in his office, though, this place is totally ransacked. So he's standing there just showing them around, like, things are overturned. Stuff is ripped off the walls, papers everywhere. It's an absolute mess. And the first thing he says to them is yeah, the demons broke into my office and took everything, including the company funds, which... Why would demons need money?
Yeah,
exactly.
There's no bank involved, whatever.
Velma asks these same questions, what would the demons want with money? Why are you just keeping all of your company funds right here in your office?
Trailer, yeah.
And Crenshaw, ever the wiser, just diverts, distract. He's like, well, that's the thing.
Don't come into my business practices, please.
Right? I don't even know who you kids are. You just walked in here, you're questioning me.
Who are you?
But he tells them well, that's just it. I think they were after this ancient talisman that is used to drive demons back underground. And so a talisman, it's just an ancient relic of different cultures that drives away evil spirits or protects different things from evil spirits. I don't know if they're always shaped like medallions or whatever. I thought that they could be shaped like different things.
Yeah, I think it's
culture.
Anything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more of the spell or the blessing you put over it than the object itself, whatever.
Yeah.
In this case, the talisman that Crenshaw for some reason has, how did he get this? I don't know, but it's shaped like a medallion, like a gold medallion of some sort.
Cool.
And so Crenshaw tells the teens the legends of the demons, where they came from and all of that. And he says that back in the 1860s, so actually before that fire hit, there was an earthquake, which Seattle definitely has earthquakes.
Yep.
And a demonic pair of arms reached out of the fissure or whatever from the crack in the ground from there and reached up for the sunlight In another one of the funniest Scooby-Doo lines ever, Crenshaw says, quote unquote, "Suddenly, the air was full of sulfurous smoke and demons." So like imagine back then, obviously they didn't have like Doppler radar in the 1860s, but imagine watching and they're like, all right, everyone, it's going to be a hot one out here today. Make sure you bring a towel because the air is going to be very full of demons.
Okay, guys, don't forget your talisman when you head to the beach today. There's likely to be a high chance of demons trying to murder you and eat your children.
A high demon percentage out there today. So yeah, and I mean, he's right, though, because in the next clip, you see literally these demons just like all floating through the air around like old town Seattle, like shrieking and just kind of scaring people away. And Crenshaw says that these demons ended up plaguing Seattle for years. They were reaping havoc around the city until one day a strange man appeared with the talisman that Crenshaw now possessed. And he claimed, this strange man, that he uses some sort of black magic or whatever, and that it would drive the demons right back to where they came from. HE double hockey sticks, as we used to say, back to where he came from. And so after the strange magic man did this, the townspeople sealed the hole that the demons came out of with like this big old iron lid that has like the circular like thing that you like screw it shut with.
Amazing.
Yes. They're like winding it shut and lock it. Like,
they were like, we can only build homes with wood, but we can create a very complicated metal mechanism for
that will literally block off like a fissure from an earthquake, which also would be like a long crack, not just one. Whatever. Correct. It worked though.
All right, good. Who are we?
Because even though this was known locally as a big urban legend, I mean, it seemed to work until Crenshaw and his construction crew accidentally came across this lid, opened it while they were building the shopping center. Because if you see a big iron lid, in the middle of a field or whatever, the first thing you should do is just open it. Don't contact the city to figure out what's under there. Just open it.
No authority.
Don't open it. No, do not open it. Yikes. But they did. And immediately after, a bunch of demons like filled the air.
No shit.
Started attacking the construction site, knocking things over, destroying everything. And so this naturally intrigues like Daphne and Velma. I mean, I guess all of them at this point, but Daphne in particular is like, wow, what? And she immediately starts looking for clues. Ooh. And remember, this office that they're in is totally ransacked, an absolute mess. But for some reason, Daphne, she's just so aware of what's going on that at her feet, she looks down and she sees a matchbox. And she picks it up and thinks, oh, wow, this must have something to do with something.
Okay.
And so they read that it's a matchbox for a place called the Crow's Nest. And Crenshaw, he sees it and just kind of dismisses it, saying, oh, the Crow's Nest, that's just an old waterfront dive nearby.
Okay.
No need to worry about that. And Fred immediately says, well, let's check it out.
I mean, good move on Fred's part. Also, good move on Daphne's part.
I guess. I mean, in this
follow every
lead in this big office with all this stuff everywhere, she just so happened to find something that happened to be a clue immediately. A matchbox, something as innocuous as that, was actually
established that she's a corporate spy in other episodes. So she knows how to tune into things.
She knows exactly. Yeah. She probably actually already has some background information. Like her family gives her like a dossier before every investigation, and she goes through like, look for anything that says the Crow's Nest on it. Got it.
Yes. Amazing. I love it.
And so, of course, the gang makes their way to the Crow's Nest. And at first, when Crenshaw describes it as a dive, my initial thought is like a dive bar. Exactly. And I was like, you're just going to like send these kids off to a bar, so I guess he didn't send them off for one. And two, the legal drinking age 18. Was different back then. Exactly. So I don't know if they are 18, but whatever. Turns out though, it's actually a hotel.
Oh, okay.
So maybe they used to call hotels dives back then. I don't know. Or maybe just the writers like forgot that they put dive in there, and then they ended up drawing it as a hotel, and they're like, oh, well, guess it's a hotel now. Whatever.
Yeah, it's a kid's show, sure.
Right. They won't notice. They don't know what a dive is anyway. So True. The gang gets there. They enter the hotel, and immediately they encounter a woman named Captain Sally, who appears to be kind of in charge or like running the whole operation. She's at the front desk. She's a bigger lady. She's just kind of like leaning over. She looks like the person in the town you come to for all the tea. She's like leaning over the counter, like just waiting for some juicy gossip to reach her hotel. Cause she's like, oh man, I know it's love hearing about people. Yeah. And she immediately, already. Yep. And she immediately tells the teens like, oh yeah, I saw one of those demons, scared the shit out of me. The thing was ugly, like just going on about how ugly and how frightening and terrifying it was. And then shortly after, the gang meets her first mate. Yeah,
which because they're in a hotel.
Exactly. It's like if they were on a ship, that would make sense. I'm not sure what the first mate at a hotel does.
But I guess like the crow's nest is like where you sit to like on a ship to like scope things out. So it's a theme.
Yes, you are now with your pirate episode last week. You now
I know everything about
give us all the anatomy. The pirate ship. So this man, her first mate, his name is Albert Tross.
Okay, as an albatross.
Yes, as an albatross.
Okay, got it.
And he's just a swashbuckling looking fellow, like the captain's hat and the big beard. Did he have an eye patch?
Oh my God, yes.
I don't remember. Let's act like he did, though. Yeah. Let's act like he does. Yeah, dark beard, very tall guy, kind of slender but tall. And the gang, they're actually scared at first because he kind of like sneaks up around a corner, and Shaggy, obviously scared of everything, initially thinks he's the demon when Albatross comes around the corner. Yeah. So they're like at first apologizing to him, like, oh my God, we're so sorry. Like we're a little shook by the demon, a little frightened. And Tross actually, like, he sympathizes with them because he too has seen the demon sneaking onto the docks late at night through the fog. And he's like, no, like, I agree. These things are frightening. Like, I am also shook by their presence.
But it's terrifying.
By what is happening to this town. And so as he says that, the gang's like, oh, the docks, you say? I know we clearly are not. We're not finding anything here at the Crow's Nest. So I guess let's go check out the docks and maybe we'll see if we can catch them and get some leads. Cool. And so they split up. And they send Scooby and Shaggy down one way to one end of the docks, and Velma and Fred and Daphne start to exit to go another way. But of course, as the teens turn their back to leave the Crow's Nest, Tross and Sally like turn and look at each other and do like that classic evil like Scooby-Doo villain grin, or like this person may be the culprit. Like sending these kids off to their unfortunate demise. Yes. Okay. So makes the viewer think, okay, let's put a pin in that because they're probably going to be on our suspect list later.
Zoom in, got it.
Yes, exactly. Zoomed in, they're grinning and like looking at each other like, oh, clearly they're in cahoots in one way or another.
Yeah, something's happening.
So as Shaggy and Scooby are making their way to investigate their end of the docks, before they even like start looking for clues, they are chased by the demon. Of course, he pops up in front of them. It's like, dang, we can't even get like 2 steps away. And the demon pops up.
Sweet.
And so classic, chase ensues, but they are able to escape, and they circle back around and meet the rest of the crew or the gang back in front of the Crow's Nest. Again, seems like they've not lived up to their end of the bargain. They just kind of stood right outside of the hotel, remained there, and didn't find anything or didn't look for any clues in the meantime, while Shaggy and Scooby got, their lives threatened. Exactly. Good. And so as they're, back in front of the, I was going to say the restaurant because I keep thinking it's a dive, as they were in front of the hotel, they're talking to the gang about the recent chase and telling them what the demons look like and everything. And Captain Sally, you hear her screaming inside, oh my God. And she runs out and she says that the demons have just taken poor Albert. So we've now got an abduction to add to.
Here's the crime.
List.
Okay.
Yes.
Kidnapping.
Crime. It's on. Exactly.
Yikes.
And I guess now that we know that like company funds were stolen from Crenshaw, I guess perhaps, So we've got a few crimes now that the kids can choose from, any of which they could have called the authorities about, but no, of course they're going to solve this investigation themselves. So they're told that Albert's been taken, and Fred's immediate thought is, well, let's go investigate in the underground city because clearly they've taken Albert down there.
Cool.
Coincidentally, though, one of the easiest access points to this underground city is through Captain Sally's basement.
Interesting.
Now, and I will say, even like in the real world today, the way that you access these tours to see underground Seattle is through the basements of buildings that were around back then, because now it's just like the third or second floor of those buildings is now like the ground level. So the first two floors are now like the basement. Basically. So you just go in on what's now like the third floor and then take stairs down into certain points that they've like cleaned up for public tours and whatnot.
Okay, cool.
So not super inaccurate that you would be able to access this underground city exactly from a basement.
What are the chances? High.
Right. Now, what are the chances that it's this basement of the first building that the kids choose to investigate? Well, they are stellar investigators, so perhaps they knew all along.
Truly.
But Velma notes that, so when they get to the basement, they see a door to lead them into the underground city. And Velma notes that while the door is clean, the wall around it is like covered in cobwebs and it's very dusty.
Okay.
And so Fred's like, well, someone must be using the door to get to the underground city. I'm not sure if that's the way dust settles. But, okay. Whatever you got to do to get this clue.
Yes. We won't question it.
They make their way through this door and they are immediately in a cave-like setting. So yeah, we're coming back to caves as well. Similar themes between our recent episodes here. And this is kind of where the realisticness, I don't know, the realistic, the accuracy ends. From everything that I've seen about the underground city, and yes, I've never been to Seattle, I've never gone to the underground city, but I watched a few videos of like full-length tours through it to get a feel of what it looks like. It is not like an underground cave. It's
like human-made structure type of thing versus wild like cave.
It's like an unfinished basement. Because they had to put cement in between like the buildings, so it's like cemented up. There's some brick. In some places you can still see like the wood paneling from the original facade of the old buildings and stuff. But in between that, it's just like cement floors and like wood planks and stuff. And it's not like a big cave with like high rise, but like a legitimate city underneath. It's just like a passage.
Wait, is that what they walked into though?
Yes.
Like,
they walk in.
Cavern with city.
A huge cavern with like individual, like single standing buildings. Like
that makes it so much better.
To their credit, a lot of the buildings were like cabin-like and had like that wooden facade. Vibe. So give them that credit to like that old school Seattle portrayal.
I guess it's cooler to have like more dramatic to have the gang walk into that than like, now we're in a tunnel.
Like an underground tunnel.
We're still in a
like
tunnel.
Brick in, and like cement. Like that's not as cool. Yeah, so yes, this is where the creative liberties definitely come in.
Good for them.
And so they enter into this massive underground cavern, and Shaggy and Scooby are still pretty scared from being chased by the demon on the docks. And so they're like walking backwards while the rest of the crew is just like walking normally to figure out where they're going, because they're like, no, that demon's not going to sneak on us again. But since they're not facing the rest of the crew, they don't see where they're going, and they get separated and lost and end up running right into the demon. So plan ruined, unfortunately. But they are then chased around the underground city quite a bit until again they reconvene with the gang. And they're telling them again, like, oh my gosh, the demon was in that area. We need to figure out somewhere else to hide. And the gang is, meanwhile, they've come across that iron lid that the old townspeople used to seal the demons in after that earthquake hit back in like 1860 or whatever.
Okay.
And now that obviously, I don't think demons ever actually came out of the ground in Seattle, but I didn't look into if there was a big earthquake in Seattle in the year 1816. I don't know.
Let's go with it.
There might have been. I don't know.
There is
but
now,
anyway.
Sure.
So they're unable to open this lid that the demons were, to the secret underground layer, whatever, where the demons were banished to years and years ago. Instead, they decide to just keep kind of strolling around the underground city. Yeah, literally. They're just like, all right, let's see what else is down here then.
Yeah, let's be little tourists.
And yeah, we toured above ground Seattle. Now let's go underground.
They're like taking pictures with the demons. Yeah.
And actually, yeah, they kind of do this because they know that there's like a dress shop and whatnot in one corner of town. And then they also note a museum in another corner, and they decide, hey, let's check out this museum. And it's a weird museum, especially when you think that it must have been around before 1889 when the city was buried. Because it's filled with like statues of old monsters, like werewolves and mummy statues, and just like phantom statues, like life-size ones, almost like Madame Tussauds, like wax museum, but only for monsters.
Interesting.
But also, I guess they're not wax because the kids see one display of the demons, actually, like the demons that are haunting, and they notice that it's a display of what should be 3 of them, but one of them is missing.
Don't like that.
And so I guess it's also like a costume, not just a sculpture. Like it's something that someone can actually put on.
Weird.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Costumes just like held up by like wooden sticks or something inside. And I like that. And so the kids are like, something is definitely fishy down here. This is clearly like the demons should be here. And so they decide, as they're talking about this fishiness of the museum, a cloud of smoke appears behind Daphne because she's kind of like standing at the back of the group. And a demon silently appears behind her, grabs her, and carries her away. So we have a legit kidnapping here, y'all.
Okay, this is like number 2 like kidnapping.
Legit. Yes.
Or but full on, like unsuspecting.
Yes. And because pretty sure like Daphne is like actually is she 18 or under? Like so she's
this is a missing child
now. Exactly. This is a missing child has been abducted in the middle of a cave by an alleged demon in a far away city. So this actually real world application would be absolutely terrifying.
Right. And like, how do you like cross state lines with jurisdictions of like her home one versus the Seattle?
So naturally the gang, they're even more shook.
They
lose their shit. They're like, all right, we got to split up and find Daphne. Not cool, y'all. Not cool.
This got real once it actually impacted us.
Yes. Before it was all just fun because we had really no stake in the game. Now,
like,
but they, in classic Mystery Inc. fashion, they're certain to not take it too seriously because they split up. Shaggy and Scooby, they wind up in a music shop somehow. And before, actually looking around, they decide, oh, hey, let's play with some of these old musical instruments that are in here. So they're playing with, I believe you call it the player pianos, like the piano, the ones that have like the notes rolling through so them, can, like, read it. The self-playing ones. So they're like messing around with one of those, totally break it, by the way. Like I don't know, I guess I don't know who owns the shop, if it's been abandoned for hundreds of years, whatever, but they break like everything in there. Great. And as they're messing with all of these instruments, they start to actually hear like the struggled muffling of like a woman somewhere, like help me, whatever. And so I don't know why, but they immediately think it's the demon.
Oh no.
I don't know. So they start to run away.
Oh no.
Yeah, they run away and they're like trying to find a place to hide in this music shop. And they hide inside a piano, like how you can like take the top up off of it. They like jump in there. But then you like see the piano shaking and they pop back out and Daphne pops out with them. they found Daphne just like that. That was quick. Yeah. So
okay, well, I'm glad she was found.
She's like, that creepy demon stuffed me in this piano. And yet another classic Scooby-Doo line. Shaggy's like, well, thank goodness it wasn't a harmonica.
Get out. Get out of here.
In the show right now. In the show.
Okay,
but yeah,
good.
so
I'm glad they found her quickly.
Exactly. I think the writers were like, wait a minute, like they just recapped what I just went through, and they were like, wait a minute. We can't have like a prolonged. Yeah, that would be very scary. We can't really scare our viewers that much. Like, let's make it like a fun abduction. Like, they'll find her quickly. She's just in a piano. It's okay. She's not like tied up to anything.
I hear your abduction idea, Symphony, but I think we need to make it more fun, a little more lighthearted, so the kids can relate to it,
Right. Just liven it up a little bit, make it PG abduction.
Yep, perfect.
Or even G-rated abduction.
Yeah.
Whatever. So anyway, those three, they leave the music shop and they find that Fred and Vilma, apparently they were also not taking Daphne's abduction too seriously.
Damn, guys.
They're in a drugstore nearby, just like looking for clues. It could be argued that they're looking for clues for Daphne, but I do not believe they were, because Velma is like looking at drug bottles, right? She's like looking closely at what the contents
What's that going to tell
are.
you?
Exactly. You're not going to find Daphne that way. You're going to find her by like moving like bookshelves out of the way, looking for trap doors. Yep. Exactly. Not by like, oh, this drug is still on the shelf. So
I wonder what this will do. 200 years old.
Oh boy, we'll get to that in just a second. They're noting that the shelves of the drugstore are all still full and full of supplies and whatnot, and also that some of these bottles look like they've been recently tampered with. So these are certainly now all considered clues. And of course, what harm could come from opening one of those two potentially 200-year-old bottles?
Full of chemicals.
Who knows? Vilma's going to find out. She opens one up and snips directly into it. And dude, she makes the funniest face. Like, oh my God.
No, you got to waft. That's what the science class always taught us. You waft.
You waft it. So she immediately regrets her decision to sniff this. And at that exact same time, Shaggy taps her on the shoulder because they're back and they found Daphne. And so she drops this bottle. It scares the crap out of her. She drops this bottle, and smoke, a red cloud of smoke, begins to fill the air.
Interesting.
Yes. And so they're like, okay, well, this now is another clue. But as the smoke dissipates, the demon takes its place.
Dang
it. Another Scooby-Doo chase ensues. And so realizing that the only way that they are going to be able to get past this demon, because it just keeps turning up around every corner, kidnapping them, scaring them, cornering them, they're like, all right, y'all, we need that talisman. Let's go back to see if Sam Crenshaw will let us borrow it. Maybe, even though it seems like super expensive and like something he really doesn't want to give up.
Something like super important to his family and like all Seattle history and whatever.
But whatever. Let these teenagers borrow it real quick. They never get stuff stolen.
No, they don't break it. Please don't look in the music store. We're good.
Totally fine. So they get back to the construction office. Again, lots of walking, lots of driving, lots of traveling for Mystery Inc. We know that they are no strangers to that, to a little road trip. And when they get back to the office, they assume that the demons have taken Mr. Crenshaw, because even though his office was a mess before, it's even messier now.
Oh no.
This time, the demons have added some writing, literal writing on the walls. Apparently, they know English and they've got great penmanship.
Good for them.
Because they wrote notes to whoever enters the office that say, leave, do not follow, he is ours. You will never see him again. Gotta love someone who's direct, right?
Yeah, they are, if anything, good at communication. Healthy demon communication.
Yes, and they obviously are practicing their like phonetics and their writing and all of that. Very, very neatly written on the wall so that everyone is very aware of what the message is.
Cool.
And so
a third kidnapping is the message.
Another kidnapping. Here we go. these teens just keep getting busier and busier by the day.
Yeah, truly.
And so even though, yes, they realize that it looks like Sam Crenshaw has been kidnapped or abducted, Fred is like, well, I guess, I mean, that shouldn't stop us from using the talisman, though, if it's here, right? So Fred opens up
being like, okay, gang, hear me out. Like, he might be kidnapped. We got Daphne back, though. He could be murdered, but I think he would want us to have this family heirloom.
Right. He would want us to save him. Yeah. So he would want us to steal this talisman to save him.
I feel like Fred would be like, he wants us to take it. And then like Daphne or Velma would be like, to save him. And Fred would be like, yeah, to save him. Like he wasn't even thinking about that.
Yes.
Oh yeah, definitely that.
Yeah. They're honest brokers, typically. Fred's not totally going to just pocket that after they end this mystery.
Yeah.
But anyway, he goes to check to see if the talisman is in Crenshaw's desk, and it is not. So the demons have not only taken Crenshaw, they got the talisman too.
I thought you were about to say that it was just in the drawer and the demons like couldn't find it in the drawer. Like they can write.
It's right there.
And like they can't open a drawer. Like they don't have like opposable thumbs or something.
They spent all their time learning penmanship and how to write in English. They did not study basic like skills of logic.
Yeah.
And, how to
basic
find
physics.
Too.
Okay, cool.
No,
I'm glad it's done, I guess.
They did. Yeah, it makes sense. They found it and they snatched him and it.
Great.
Right from the office. So the gang's like, well, shit. I mean, we're no match for these demons on our own, but we literally have nowhere else to look besides the underground city. So I guess we'll go back there. Turning right back around. Because I guess like they don't really have much else planned for this weekend getaway in Seattle. Like, I'm pretty sure they have a dinner reservation tonight, but they've got some time to kill in between.
We got time.
They're like, yeah, let's go back down there.
Okay,
and
great.
The next scene, you see them back in the underground city or like in this cave setting, and they are literally sprinting, Grace. Like, they are running through this city. So, yes, their dinner reservation is later, but they still don't want to miss it.
Right, yeah, like they have some... urgency around this.
Exactly, a little bit of urgency. And so while they're running through the city, they run into actually an entire gang of these demons. I think there's like 3 of them. Yeah. And a chase ensues naturally. Yeah. So we're learning now that there are multiple. It's not just one popping up. And so as they're running, they come across this like old cable car roundhouse, like, like the circular, like, not a dock, you don't call it docking for cable cars, but like all the trolley lines
platform, where like they arrive kind of thing.
Exactly. And they can all like switch their routes or whatever from there.
Oh god, yeah.
And there's like all these levers and stuff to control the cable cars and everything. Yes, exactly. And so the kids get in there like, it's an old cable car roundhouse, but this is strange because all of the machinery in here and the levers all look brand new. Even though it would have been from like 1889. So Fred notices this and he just like immediately pulls a lever. It's like all these like lights are beeping and flashing and it's like the stuff is clearly on. So he like just pulls a lever and a cable car just like enters into it, like, enters into the room. And Shaggy and Scooby, of course, decide to get on this cable car rather than continuing to solve the mystery in time for their dinner reservation. And after riding in the car for a couple seconds, they like notice that there is a demon in the back corner of it. And it starts to chase them around the trolley.
Oh no, just like in the circle. Oh no.
So, okay, just let me listen. There is no amount of storytelling skills or like oratorical knowledge that could allow me to describe the way this chase goes down.
Okay.
It is very, like, I watched this episode a few times to write this, and I don't know how this chase happened. I don't know how it works. Okay. I know, like, in your last episode, there was a crazy chase, and you're like, I'm going to try to explain this.
Yeah, this one's a non-option.
I'm not going to try to explain this. I'm going to say you have to watch it, but suffice it to say that it involves in an underground city, massive tunnels, a series of steep hills and a trolley that just quite frankly seems to defy the laws of nature and physics.
Okay, we can leave it at that. I won't press you more.
And it ends in an old film studio set in the old abandoned city.
Wait, in the 1800s?
Yeah.
A film set?
Yeah, in 1889. I mean,
okay. Cameras?
Yeah. And so what happens is Scooby and Shaggy like pretend that they're film directors.
God damn it.
And they somehow get the demon into a tutu and they're like commanding him around
to dance.
Set. Yeah, classic. Like, all right, on your mark, we're gonna go, like 3, 2, like, getting ready.
Yeah, the like clapper and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is how they trick the demon.
Okay.
And somehow Scooby like releases some lever that then sends him and Shaggy down a chute. And when they get down the chute, they run into the rest of the gang.
Oh, great.
And they find out they're in the basement of that museum that had all of the monster statues in it.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to see the blueprint for this place. For this whole city.
That's why I was like, I'm going to describe the very beginning of this and the very end, because there is no logical way to explain the middle. Yes.
Yeah. All right. We can keep moving. Great.
Yeah. So anyway, so they're back in the basement of this museum and Fred is like, all right, guys, I think I have a plan on how we're going to capture these demons. He says that they're going to lure the demons onto these trolley tracks that they found. And then they're going to send like all the different statues out on the tracks. Like they'll connect them to the cable car thing overhead and send them out. And it's going to make the demon think that he's the one being chased by the monsters.
A classic move.
Classic, right? So they do this, they set it up and they start sending all of these monsters down different parts of the trolley tracks. And it starts to work. The demon is like cornered by them and with nowhere else to run, he hides into that iron lid back into that underground, whatever hidey hole that is down there. And so the kids chase him over there. And after the demon closes it, they're like, well, shoot, we got to make sure that we caught him. And also we want to unmask him.
Open it up.
Let's open it up after we just banished a dangerous demon down there.
We didn't learn that last time you opened up a random hidey hole thing, more demons were released. Cool.
And I'm confused on how many hidey holes. You saying that just made me realize that this isn't the same hidey hole from the construction site.
Yeah.
So
this
I don't,
like
again,
an 1890s one. Unclear.
Maybe there were more stories of demons escaping that Crenshaw didn't tell them about. So there were multiple like lids all throughout Seattle from where they like just cover it with a lid. It'll be fine.
Perfect.
And so yes, they're able to get the lid open this time, and all that they see, unfortunately, it's not a demon, but it's actually like this very steep spiral staircase that then just goes into darkness. So yes, so they decide, all right, well, guess we're going to go down this steep, dark staircase.
Let's go deeper into the earth.
Yes, and
right
figure out what's going on. Yeah.
Sweet.
And so they start to go down, and immediately as they get down there, it's just like a storage basement type of situation, like a lot of boxes and of course barrels everywhere.
Barrels.
And they immediately run into Albert Tross. And he's like super happy to see them, like, oh my God, thank you. You saved me. Like, I've been shanghaied down here. The demons got me. And the kids are like reveling in his praise, like, yes, of course. Yes, Toss, we're this close to solving the mystery. And Scooby like bumps into this old chest that's kind of, sitting back behind all these boxes that are down there. And he accidentally breaks it. And when he does that, a bunch of money comes out of this chest, like coins and all types of stuff. And Tross is like furious. He's like, get away from me, sea chest. He calls it that. And Fred, after Tross says that, Fred's like, just as I suspected. So Fred like apparently knew all
from
this
the
time.
Get-go?
Yeah, he's like, oh, Fred knows that Tross actually is a double crosser of some sort. So Tross like runs away after, because he's clearly exposed that he is obviously up to no good. So then and his running away even further proves that he's up to no good.
Looks more guilty by running. Yes.
And so the gang is chasing after him. They eventually catch him and, of course, trap him in like a barrel or like a crate of some sort.
The usual.
And it's at this point that we're like, oh, wait, Albatross is the thing that needs to be unmasked, not the demon. Your face says it all. That was my face too, honestly. I was like, wait, what?
Wait, what?
Yeah, they take a mask off of Albatross.
What?
I was gonna let you guess, but there's really, sorry. So
I wouldn't have guessed.
It's like not the kind of episodes where you can like guess who the culprit is. So I'm just like gonna tell you, yes, wait. Albatross is a person in a mask.
Wait, hold on. So I have to guess now who's in the mask of Albatross?
Yes.
Okay, no.
Do you want me to run through the clues first, or I guess it's. Yeah, I know. It's a moment. So you want me to give you a moment? You need a second.
Well, I'm just like, I'm confused as to, I mean, Freddie being like, yes, I knew it. I assume it's him being like, yes, I knew that Albatross, as I'm just going to call him, is like nefarious and up to no good. Clearly he's guilty. But like, what was the moment in which they were looking at this person and said, I don't think your face is real. And just like started clawing at like the base of like what his neck or something to like peel it off.
Imagine if they had been wrong.
Right. Because
like,
right. They're just clawing at him in a dark cave. Because it's not like,
this is not a fake beard, kids.
Right. Because it's not like the other ones where like my last one where it was like, oh, I look like a pirate, but the only time we saw you was in the context of you being a pirate. Like, they have seen Albatross in like a real world setting. Yeah. And now they're like, you have a mask on, we're going to rip your face off. Exactly. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead and run through it all. I'm just flabbergasted, right? I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah. And unfortunately, you will continue to be overwhelmed.
Okay.
So the clues, again, scarce as they are, you've got the matchbox for the crow's nest. You have the missing demon costume. Sorry, I'm kind of doing this off of memory because they don't really like run through them the way they typically do. You have the trolley, like the roundhouse station with the new levers and all of that. I think.
And then can you run through the cast of characters again?
Yes.
Suspects.
Yeah. So we have Sam Crenshaw, who owns the construction company, owns the talisman somehow, was abducted by the demons, apparently. We have Albatross, who was the man in the mask, but worked with Sally, the captain and owner, whatever, front person, host, what do you call it? Desk worker, whatever. Concierge, thank you, at the Crow's Nest Hotel. That's it. I mean, you also see like Joe, the crane operator, and the construction worker guy, their waiter at the restaurant at the Seattle Space Needle. I guess like these are your choices.
I am so confused because I thought Albatross was a suspect and a character, and as soon as you were like, get away from my treasure, I was like, well, clearly yes, he did it. He doesn't exist.
But I mean, so he did still do it. So I guess the question is, who is Albatross?
And there's multiple demons too. I guess they just have this one. It's a tricky one.
It is Sam Crenshaw.
Acting,
it is Sam Crenshaw,
like
wearing a mask of Albert. Yes. Of Albatross. Yes. Again, similar themes to the episode that you just did, the last episode you did, where you have someone literally tanking their own business.
Right. Yeah. What's the deal here?
We're going to get to it. Again, more similar themes. Your last episode got me very excited because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to be repeating a lot of the same shit she was saying, but I love it because again, just showing how often we think alike. So they pull off the mask and it's Mr. Crenshaw in disguise. And unlike probably the entire audience, Daphne goes, I get it. Crenshaw was going to use the Albatross disguise for his getaway, to which I was like, okay, what getaway?
I was like, this explained nothing to me. Okay.
Yeah.
What?
And so Fred, he supplements that point by saying, yeah, see, Crenshaw, he was trying to get away, but we found the matchbook that connected Crenshaw to Albatross, because they said, okay, so the Crenshaw must go to the crow's nest. Albatross works there. So, okay, but still, what getaway are we talking about?
Both what getaway are we talking about? And why is he acting like another person acting like a demon?
Yeah, exactly. Still. So Daphne, she adds on.
Okay.
So since Crenshaw was trying to get away, he had to make Albatross get away too, because we made the connection that they knew each other.
Okay.
Again, I say, what getaway are you talking about? And so Vilma continues by saying that Mr. Crenshaw, he got his demon costume from the museum in the underground city. Yes. Okay. And Fred says that what he did to make it look like there were multiple demons, because there actually is only one, he hooked the other statues onto, he literally did exactly what the teens did. He hooked the other monsters onto the trolley system. Okay. Fred's like, yes, and he did that, and it made it look like an army of demons were running loose in the streets, which, like, dude, Fred, back up, calm down. There were literally 3 of them chasing.
Daphne's like, I'm the one telling the story. Sit down, Fred.
Yeah. Also, but it's like, it was no army of demons. There were 3 of them. Okay, dude.
And only in the caves, not the streets.
Exactly. Yeah. Chill. And then Velma's like, all of the smoke and the sizzling handprints that were left behind on the construction site, all of those were used were made using the chemicals that they found in that old drugstore.
Oh, wow. That seems very dangerous. Cool.
It does. Yes. Yeah. So Crenshaw is also apparently a chemist or whatever of some sort. Cool. Whatever. So Crenshaw, again, saying an iteration of our favorite line. They say it again in this episode. You kids think you're pretty smart. I would have gotten away with it all too if you and that dog hadn't come along.
You're damn right, Sam.
Damn right. You cannot escape Mystery Inc. So that's it. The gang, they end their investigation and they are able to make their dinner resi in time. They go back at the exact same restaurant.
Oh, back at the Space Needle and that lobster.
Exactly. And yes, Scooby is eating lobster again. So imagine if the dog is eating lobster
2 nights in a row.
This is an expensive trip. So I want to apologize by presenting to you another episode with a terribly developed motive for the culprit, but I will not apologize for what we are going to do next. Wildly speculate. We get to wildly speculate. Okay, because not once in this episode is any treasure in the underground city mentioned, like, whatsoever. Like, they never, ever, not until Albatross is caught.
Yeah, they only mention money when Crenshaw says, like, I got robbed.
Literally, that's it. Or yeah, they mention it then, exactly. But when they're talking about, like, any treasure that someone would want from the underground city,
nothing.
Like, there's none of that. Yeah. So I guess, like, they just want us to assume that Crenshaw was somehow after this massive treasure and he came across it, and for some reason, like, so I don't know who would own that treasure. Like, I don't know who he's technically stealing it from if it's in this old abandoned city.
I guess I was assuming that it's like all of his loose change from his company that he's just like trying to embezzle.
I guess.
I don't know. Go on.
I guess that, I like that angle. So my wild speculation is that Crenshaw, he is just like extremely, extremely obsessed with this folklore of demons. And this, I guess it's not folklore of the underground city, because there really is an underground, just kind of underground city down there. And so he probably like mapped out where all of the old banks and all of the old like rich people and like the successful businesses were, their safes and everything, and figured since they're all abandoned, like, hey, I can go down there, I can steal all of these riches and all of these artifacts for myself. No one else is trying to do it because the stuff is like blocked off and sealed off. So he mapped this all out. Through all of his research, he came across this talisman. He probably got it through very unethical means, I would assume. This ancient relic I don't think it had anything to do with him or his family.
Down there.
Yeah, exactly. Found it down there. And he then used his construction company as a front to have access to that iron lid where he could then store his riches and also have, like a direct line to the underground city.
Yeah.
And so you're wondering though, sure, but why would he tank his own business in order to do this? When you put on the mask in the costume and you're blaming it on demons, similarly to your last episode, my theory, insurance fraud, right? Baby. All you got to say is, it was criminal misconduct on my construction site, or it was like force majeure, an act of God. Something happened and these demons are haunting us and they destroyed it. So he's taking money from the insurance company. He's getting riches from the old abandoned city. Both sides of the equation.
Oh shit. But, being like, all of our funds were in there. It like, I can claim property damage on top of everything being stolen.
Exactly. So he's he would get a hefty insurance fraud check.
Yes, I guess I'm
fraudulent
still
check, but
perplexed by him acting as Albatross and like the knowing, like conniving smile with Captain Sally or whatever her name was. And also like if they were friends, couldn't he just access it through her hotel?
Yeah, and that is why Captain Sally, she's never mentioned again. And part of my speculation was like, maybe she actually had something to do with it and he just didn't give her up because he wanted her to keep going down and finding.
Oh shit, so it's going to continue.
Yeah. But you make a good point. Like if she already had access, maybe to like really play on the old legend of the demons.
Yeah.
They had to like, they needed the iron lid that was specifically in the construction site or something to like
because
really
it like got
embellish
released
the story
type of thing. Yeah.
Or maybe Sally isn't in on it at all, and for some reason like they just creepily looked at each other and never
or
explained
maybe
anything.
Maybe she just looked at him like that because she knew that he had a mask on but like didn't know what he was up to.
She's like, I know you're not really Albatross, but I don't know what you are doing, so let's chuckle as these kids leave. And she's like, I don't know what's going on, but I'll just laugh.
I'm so perplexed by this one.
Even
more so than like the last one where like your mode. I think the insurance scam part of it makes sense because before you added that in, I was like, well, if no one else is going down there stealing it, he can just be stealing it without even a costume and stuff. But the insurance scam side of things, one's got to go with the other, because I guess how else is he gonna like just leave his business behind if he's not like, it was going under because of all of X, Y, and Z, and so I decided to shut it down after I cashed that check. Because maybe that's his getaway, is that now he's going to use all of this money, or he was going to use all of this money to actually get a ship with Captain Sally and sail away.
And then meet Redbeard and all of them. All of our stories come full circle.
Come sail away. Perfect. Great. Well, this whole time I've been thinking, I've never seen Sleepless in Seattle, but I guess I have now. That's what it's about.
Apparently these kids did not sleep one bit as they were running through this underground city.
Not at all. Wow, great work. Great job.
Thank you. I want to visit Seattle now. I want to
go on that tour.
Yeah, I really want to tour these underground cities. They're not free, apparently, the tours. They do cost money. I don't know how much, but apparently, like from the videos that I watched, it looks really cool, really interesting, very creepy. Apparently, like they are haunted. People say they like see ghosts or strange figures down there.
I bet like those 17
that's your jam.
Involuntary suicides haunt that shit probably.
I could not believe it when I read that that's what they called them. I was like, that really sounds like that sounds like a case of CYA. They are trying to cover their ass. Like, no, that was not involuntary manslaughter on part of the city. That was involuntary suicide on part of the people who did not catch that ladder to the 20-foot drop that we put.
That was there by some circumstances. Yeah, exactly. Wow.
But yes, that was interesting. It was. I learned a lot from this episode.
Yeah, I want to go check that out now.
Stuff about Seattle before watching and writing
ride
this.
Away from me. So
when I come visit you out there, we'll do a little day trip, and we'll take pictures in the underground city.
Yes. All right, hold us to it, everyone.
Yes, and help fund this trip so we can do that.
Yes, precisely. Stay tuned for more.
Yes.
Wow.
So, great. But until there is more, which again, more will be something other than Scooby-Doo.
Yes, next week.
But until there is more, who should they talk about this podcast with who?
You know, I think you should go to your local Party City, since we had monster costumes, or Spirit Halloween, whichever one.
Mm-hmm.
Put on, I guess maybe don't make sure you don't have COVID, and then put on the scariest, weirdest costume. And then you should go tell one of the, maybe like a teenager who's wandering through there, or like their parent. I was gonna say a kid, but that'd be way too scary. Tell like a young adult about our podcast, like scare them from around the corner in your weird costume, and then tell them.
Mm-hmm. And after the store security guards come over to you, try to kick you out for scaring random patrons, tell the security guards to also watch.
Yeah, great call. Yeah, tell them all. And keep the costume on for your mugshot, I guess. You get arrested for that. Send it to us.
Cute.
Yeah, but we're not liable. This makes we're not liable for that.
Yeah. And I will not represent you in any sort of criminal trial.
Nope.
Or civil, for that matter.
Or anything.
Or I'm not representing.
Not be your lawyer ever. All right. Well, we'll see y'all next week for a new cartoon.
We'll be back.
So excited. Stay tuned.
Bye.
Tell everyone. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus tune tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on, so just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at SatmornMist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design, and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.